Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the Maurice Lacroix Masterpiece Double Retrograde. You can see this 46mm in-house caliber yellow gold watch and purchase it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full listing for this watch with additional high-resolution images, accessories included, and naturally complete pricing details for this Maurice Lacroix masterpiece. Now on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, this watch must be one of the largest yellow gold references available in modern horology. 46mm across the round of the case, not including pusher adjusters or crown. This timepiece is mammoth. For the most traditional of golds, it's a combination you rarely see. Modern oversized watch proportions and yellow gold, the most traditional rendition of the famed precious metal. But it works here. And in fact, there's more than just gold going on. We'll get to that in a matter of moments. But first, the span from lug to lug might surprise. At 46mm, you could expect this watch to span anywhere from 55 to 57mm laterally across the wrist, but it's actually a fairly compact 52. And in terms of thickness, the watch is quite reasonable at 14mm thick with a nicely sloped bezel. You can actually fit this watch underneath a fairly tight sleeve or dress cuff. It works fairly well for that particular application, and again, yellow gold being the most formal, that might be the watch's best application. But in terms of ergonomics, this double retrograde has a couple of other tricks up its sleeve, or rather up mine. You can see that the strap is beautifully integrated into the end of the case. Somehow I have complete range of motion. It's not constrained against the case flank, and yet I have that integrated look that you often get when a strap has conforming end pieces flush to the flanks of the case. So how does this work? Well, the strap is actually underslung and countersunk into the flanks such that the case actually caves away, allowing the strap to be inserted into it, and yet still have all degrees of articulation to pull tightly around a smaller wrist. Very clever, and one of the reasons this is possible is because Maurice Lacroix is a completely integrated manufacturer. Not only did they design the watch, but they build the case, the small parts, the movement, so they can actually design the case with a view to equipping a strap in exactly this fashion. It works phenomenally well from an ergonomic standpoint. Now in terms of the small parts, the buckle allows for easy on-the-fly adjustment, nicely finished, alternately polished in satin with Maurice Lacroix marquee. It's actually yet another piece that is built in-house by Maurice Lacroix and has the brand's maker's mark on the underside. Now the watch has a surprisingly complex case. For the amount of gold you're getting, Maurice Lacroix didn't waste time creating articulation, differentiation, breaking up the mass so it doesn't look monolithic. You can see the gentle and sensuous compound curves of the case flank. You can see the stepped spline down the center of the polished lug hoods. You should also note that it's alternately brushed and polished. A lot of nuance. In spite of the size of this watch, it doesn't succeed by dint of brute force. There's a great deal of subtlety, and that continues in the triple step of the bezel. Very attractive, and although a satin finish is used on the flank of the case, it's not the conventional horizontal satin finish, it's vertical, and contrasts nicely with the polished pusher adjusters. Now remember, I mentioned that this watch also had some silver to its story. Silver and gold, and you get both. 18 karat gold for the case, and 925 silver for the dial. It is a solid disc of silver, in fact, with a very faint vertical striation to its graining. It's a cross between matte and grained, and it works spectacularly well. Doesn't explode in the light so much as it glows, with a nice sort of dying ember aesthetic to it, albeit in silver. It's frosted and nicely warmed in spots by the application of yellow gold to differentiate it and guilloche to create several focal planes. It can be difficult to take a dial this big in a case of this proportion and keep it interesting, but it never becomes austere or a blank, empty span. There's always something interesting going on, starting with the retrograde second time zone at 12 o'clock, and you can see the function of the retrograde, providing yet another element of engagement and vertical symmetry. As you can see, it's counterbalanced by the retrograde date at 6 o'clock. Now you have a power reserve scale at 3 o'clock, and that's keeping track of the manually wound 52-hour power reserve of the timepiece. Now there's a lot going on this dial, but because of its size, it never appears busy. That's one of the advantages of a large, complicated watch, and because of the clever use of a very delicate vertical striation, judicious application of yellow gold elements, and almost biomorphic hand setup at center. The shape is reminiscent of what you see on FP Journes. The watch never seems sterile or empty. It's a beautiful balance and in epic size, as is the case back. Now here's where the watch gets really interesting. You have entirely gold-plated gilt bridges, gorgeous screw sinks, beautifully polished screw heads, as close to black polish as you're going to get outside of a Swiss Big 3 house on the Swan's Neck regulator of the 18,000 vibration per hour balance. Now there are 52 jewels here. The watch does feature a Maurice Lacroix module on top of its base caliber, which, though inspired by a high-grade Unitas 6497, is actually built in-house along with all small parts by Maurice Lacroix. Now, what I also want to draw attention to, and I had to back over this several times to take it in, but if you look at the anglage of the bridges, not only is it beautifully mirrored, but upon close examination, you can see that it's actually rounded and seamless. That's right, this is hand-laid anglage in this 1 of 250-piece limited edition from Maurice Lacroix. This is as big and broad and beautiful as hand-laid anglage gets, and I'll even commit a little bit of a heresy here, but if you've seen FP Journe movements, which have a similar gold aesthetic, admittedly solid gold in the case of Journe, Journe uses filings to draw the bridges, doesn't actually create that mirrored anglage. Maurice Lacroix goes one better. And again, when you examine this under the 10 power, 12 power, 20 power loop, you must come to the same conclusion that I did. This was done by hand, and that is exceptional for a watch in this price range. Manufacture movement, manufacture case, a dial of solid sterling silver in an unusual application on a large scale of yellow gold. You can see this Maurice Lacroix masterpiece double retrograde dual time and take it home on our website.